So today we're going to be talking a little bit about one of pretty much one of the two major cults of the 90s. Now, the first one being Whatever Happened at Waco. I haven't looked into that, but that's next. I'm going to be looking into that too. Yeah, they kind of linked them together a little bit, so I'm kind of curious. But no, we're going to be talking about the Heaven's Gate cult, honey. Heavens. Literally. Heaven's Gate cult. We're just going to call it Heaven's Gate. How's that?
Okay.
All right, because it's going to mess up my lisp if
I got you, honey.
Honey, because, speech therapy only goes so far.
Heaven.
Yes. Honey, I try not to have a lisp. All right. Anyway, the Heaven's Gate, a lot of people associate this with being just a cult of the 90s, but actually, no. This stretches back all the way to the 70s. Is when this cult very first started, I guess, laying its platform.
Gotcha.
So there's two main members of this cult. Let me make sure I get their names right. Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles. So
what names?
Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles. Now, a lot of times, Marshall Applewhite, he'll be known as Doe. That's what they called him, Doe. And Bonnie was known as T.
Okay.
T.I. I'm guessing.
She was the rapper?
I don't know why it took me out, but that did. Anyway, no, actually, it was in reference to the Sound of Music, Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. Yeah. Anywho, that's actually how they got that name.
How odd.
Yeah, it is. It is. But honey, we're just about to scratch the surface of odd. So, so a little bit about Marshall Applewhite. Now he grew up in church. His father was a very well-known Presbyterian minister. I'm pretty sure it was Presbyterian. I may be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it was. He led these big congregations, and he was just very, very well known. So Marshall always kind of was in the church fam,
right,
so to say. And that's what he grew up to. So, obviously he thought that he would, grow up to be a preacher, just like his daddy did. So years later, he was at college pretty much. And I can't remember if he was a teacher there, or if he was actually a student there. I'd have to go back and look. But apparently it was rumored that he had some relations with someone of the same sex. Scandal, honey. And being from a very prominent
religious
family, I can kind of see, because his dad was kind of like think of like Billy Graham a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. He led lots of like crusades, things like that.
Okay.
Very, very well known person. So Marshall, obviously, like
so sorry I keep yawning.
Every good little Christian boy in that time that was caught, with
the same sex,
they got sent away.
Oh,
yeah, but that's all right, because he got sent away to this little hospital to help him with his psychosis.
Oh my God!
And that's where
that sounds like a nightmare.
Well, honey, hold on.
Sorry, I got scared.
I know, that's where he met little Bonnie.
Okay.
Little Bonnie Nettles was her name. Apparently, she was a nurse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, apparently she was a nurse, and that's how her and little Marshall first met. Now, Bonnie was a little bit older than Marshall, so she would definitely be what we call a cougar.
Oh, snap.
But now, honey, she was a cougar with intentions. So people say that she was actually the true founder of Heaven's Gate.
Honey, Bonnie be the ringleader.
Yeah, Bonnie was the ringleader, honey. But she found a younger, impressionable mind.
Right.
And they had studied, so I guess they enter into a relationship together. That's where we should start. They enter into a relationship together.
What a turn.
And
what a turn.
Oh, I know. I thought you said what a term. I was
no, like what a turn. Like I thought that he was.
I was like, what term? Anywho,
Because, I mean, he's gay.
well, hold on, we'll get to that here in a
Okay,
minute.
sorry, I'm getting excited.
We'll get to because there's no evidence that they were ever actually
In
you
a
know,
relationship.
in a relationship.
Okay.
But they were together, very much so. So they had studied all these different religions around the world and things like that. And so in the early 70s, early to mid 70s, they decided that they would start their own religious, I guess, following. Congregation, so to say, in September of 1975 in Waldport, Oregon. They had their first meeting, so they distributed all these flyers around town, and the flyers, like they talked about UFOs, and they talked about um, pretty much leaving this earth for something better.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like a higher calling
yeah,
type of situation.
I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but but the UFOs was their little that was what they stuck to. So they had this meeting, the first meeting of, and it wasn't called Heaven's Gate back then. I can't remember. It didn't truly have a name um, back then, but they got such a good turnout. So D and Doe. Oh, sorry, no, that's wrong. Doe and T, Doe and T. They based all of their, I guess, literature, all of their, well, not literature. That's the wrong thing to say. How can I say
So,
it?
like religious doctrine.
Yeah, their doctrine, based on Revelation chapter 11,
Okay.
where it talks about the two, and it talks about two people who will possess all of this knowledge to bring forth to the world and things like that. So they believed that they were the two.
Okay.
Now that meeting took off though, but yeah, like I mean, they recruited so many members that day, and
Wow.
so then they started traveling place to place, and recruiting members. I mean, it got up to over 100 people. And but see, here's the thing though, they also caught the attention of the media while they did that. So because one of the things were when you first came to this group, if you decided to join, you had to leave all of your earthly possessions behind, including your family. Yeah.
How Scientology of them.
Sort of. But that was one of their things. Like you had to leave because it would hinder you from accepting your new body, your new life, and everything. So pretty much they were kind of like a boot camp to get ready for the life that's coming. And it wasn't Jesus coming in the clouds or anything like that. It was UFOs coming to take us to the mothership, so to say.
Oh.
Like they believed that our ancestors were actually extraterrestrials. They linked extraterrestrials to the Bible. They made it very biblical. And pretty much you prepare yourself now because everything that happened to you on Earth was getting you ready for
your new life.
Yeah, a transcending type of
your new life on the mothership.
Yeah, your new life on the mothership. So, but like I said, they caught a lot of attention because I mean, so all of these people from these small towns were leaving to go join
and just leaving everything behind.
Yeah, leaving their family behind, leaving everything behind, and it caught a lot of attention. They got a lot of attention, and I mean, obviously, they were pretty much preaching UFOs and aliens and everything else, so they were automatically written off. So one of their major, I guess setbacks or things that they worried about was not so much about like the police involvement or anything like that. It was about the family members of the members who had joined, because they know this wasn't going to fly for them.
Well, right. They wanted to have an intervention with their family members to get them to come back home.
Because I mean, pretty much when you joined, you left that behind. Yeah. Now it is probably pertinent to mention that Bonnie T, she had a daughter that she left behind too. Yeah, but now she would still correspond with her daughter some.
Oh, she's not even following her own
Yeah,
religion, honey.
yeah.
Which is, I swear, how most founders of cults be.
And
They do not follow
they do
their
not
own
follow
rules.
their own doctrine. No. So like I said, 1975 rolls around. They have this meeting. They take away all these meetings. They start traveling, and collecting more members. Well, their family gets upset, and one of the young men that they actually recruit, his father was the president over, I want to say, a telephone company or something like that. Uh, very, very, wealthy connections, and they actually lived off of his trust fund for the longest time.
Oh,
Yeah,
the cult
the
did.
cult did. They lived off of his trust fund. That's what enabled them to be able to, I guess, have money to
Travel and everything.
Yeah, but they got so much attention. I mean, the news was reporting on them. Newspapers was writing about them. Magazines were writing about them, and they didn't like that. They didn't like that exposure. So they decided by the late 70s to kind of go underground. So they had a following. They went underground. I want to say that they moved. I want to say Texas is where they ended up. Everybody seems all these little cults seem to end up in Texas.
They really do.
Don't know what it is about the Texas, but honey, oh well. Honey, everything's big in Texas, including their cults. But so they're kind of they're kind of laid down low, and these family members are still searching. I mean, they're hiring private investigators.
That's so sad.
They're hiring like all kinds of. One of them is working with the FBI, and one of the mothers set up this kind of like a missing child type thing.
Yeah.
Tip line, helpline, any information. Like she set this up, and it went on for a long, long time. So they've went into hiding, pretty much. They've went off the grid. They've went into hiding. The 80s kind of roll along there, and I mean they're still going strong membership wise. I mean they have funds, they have members. They're still.
Wow.
They're still preparing these people, and at this point, they have very strict rules. Not only did you have to give up your family, you led a life of abstinence.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, things like that. Like, I mean, any pleasures of the flesh, none of that.
That is shocking because it's almost always the other way around in a
Yeah.
cult.
But no, not this one. This one was very much, um, centered around taking all of those things away to prepare yourself to be a ascension, I guess, to prepare yourself to be ready to be
transcended.
Yeah, transcended into your alien body, and that's what they believe. They believe that you would be transformed into your true self, which was actually an alien, and you would be part of a bigger plan. So now in around the mid 80s is when it kind of shifts, but it shifts because Bonnie T, she gets diagnosed with cancer.
Okay. What year did you say?
Like this, I know it happened in the 80s.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, this is in the mid 80s. It's so now Bonnie, who was one of the two, now that was like I mean that was sent here with the prophecy,
right?
And
it's now dying.
Is now dying. And the cancer I know goes to her liver.
Okay.
So it takes her out pretty quick, within a few weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is very detrimental on all the members of this group, especially little Marshall or Doe. He takes it the hardest. So, shortly after Bonnie is out of the picture, T is out of the picture, the group shifts. Marshall Doe, who is, oh, okay, that's enough now, who, is left behind, he kind of shifts the focus of the group a little bit. So now, whereas they had somewhat of a free will, I mean, how do I put it? All the members of the group had they were loyal to the belief, but after she passed away, he reformulated it to where all the loyalty shifted to him.
Okay.
Because he became the head honcho.
Yeah.
So to say. So now we're moving, steadily into the early 90s.
Right.
Okay. And this is when, the new age of the internet is coming about. Things are kind of starting to change and stuff like that. So this group kind of resurfaces, but it resurfaces as Heaven's Gate.
Okay.
What we kind of know it as, and like I said, now it's kind of shifted. Whereas before, everybody, they were loyal to the beliefs that they had, that they were going to ascend to something better.
Right.
But now they're loyal to to Marshall. Yeah, they're loyal, even to the point to where he had a kind of like a wedding ceremony type thing with all the groups, and yeah. So
like with every man and woman,
everything, and it was a loyalty type thing.
Okay.
So now, because every picture that you see of them taken in the 80s and 90s, they all wear the same gold band. So they take kind of much a pledge to him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so it be shifting.
Yeah, so it shifted from the ideas to the person who was telling you the ideas.
I would love to know how he shifted that and they fell for it.
Well, they did. But like I said, some of these members have been members from the get-go.
Right, from the jump.
And I will say this about them. They did have that free will. You were free to leave at any time.
Okay.
And a lot of their members did leave. And some members came back, and some members would flip-flop. They'd leave and come back and leave and come back. But the indoctrination was very, very strong, but you always had the will to leave if you wanted to.
Wow.
Yeah. I will say that about that. But now, you kind of see the shift from the 70s, whereas it was spreading a message to, in the 80s and early 90s, it shifted to loyalty to the messenger.
Okay.
So to say. So now we're in the the early 90s. The internet is taking hold, dial up for everybody, and all that good stuff. And so they make a resurgence of this group. They make a resurgence, and they come back as, like I said, Heaven's Gate. So they are starting to tour more. That one young man that they were living off his trust fund, his father actually passed away and left him a good deal of money. So they were renting mansions. They were going into these upper middle class neighborhoods, and they were not a violent cult or anything like that. They were not violent. That is not what they preached. That's not what they taught. They just taught pretty much biblical. It did turn more biblical towards the 80s too.
So they basically preached their version of the Bible.
Pretty much. And it did go more biblical towards the 80s. Into the 90s, the message really became more of a doomsday prophecy. Instead of ascending, it was kind of more like a get out while you can type of thing. But they really tried to take advantage of all these new like chat rooms, the message boards, things like that, and they started, resurfacing quite a bit to recruit new members,
Right.
and they were successful. They were very, very, very successful. And the fact that they can move into these upper middle class neighborhoods undetected,
Yeah.
I mean, because they didn't cause any trouble.
Yeah.
And but again, after you see the shift in the 80s, the loyalties and things kind of start, it becomes more weird, not that it wasn't weird before, because I mean they're preaching aliens and little green men and things like that,
right?
But I mean now it's the getting yourself prepared for this journey, and so and a lot of it was abstinence, denying yourself of pleasures of the flesh. So at one stint, a lot of the male members on Marshall's instructions, Doe's instructions, were castrated.
Oh, that is not where I saw this going.
Yeah, to take away the temptation, so to say. There was one incident where, and like I said, they did have in their little collection of people. Now, it wasn't just like crazy people or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure you had a few out there people, but
anybody who's willing to be castrated.
A lot of these people were very well educated people, especially when they started resurfacing in the 80s and 90s, because their money had run low. They had been blew through the trust fund of young men from the 70s there. And so a lot of their members worked. They had a lot of tech jobs. They had a lot of, and it was a lot of tech people. One man owned a computer store, was the only computer store in the area. And
what happened to leaving all your worldly possessions behind?
Well, at this point in time, again, all this stuff kind of shifted. Because they needed to be financed.
Yeah.
So, people worked. People would, like, they all lived together, usually in these very nice homes. They were not, ran down or anything like that. They were very nice homes, and they would leave, go work a job, and come back.
Wow.
And that's what you saw. They blended in with society quite well. But like I said, a lot of the mentalities kind of changed. There was a nurse there. She was one of the founding, like she'd been there for the long haul. And I mean, one man that they performed a castration on, it went horribly wrong. Horribly wrong. Yes. I mean, and they tried their best not to get, I guess, take him to the hospital, things like that. When they probably should have, which eventually they did. 2 members ended up taking him to the hospital, and I mean, he did survive, but at the same time, but I mean, a lot of the male members, they were castrated of their own accord.
Ugh.
And I mean, and there was nothing that anybody could do about it, because the FBI, everything, for
because they weren't enforced.
Even back to the 70s, the FBI was pretty much, there's nothing we can do. These are consenting adults.
Right.
So like I said, they really take advantage of the internet, the new age thing.
Right.
They get on message boards, they get on all kinds of things. The Doe, he makes a series of these videotapes explaining, but now the message, like I said, has shifted to where it's getting ready for the end.
Okay.
Because the end is drawing very near. Okay. But see, they have to be very careful, because they're at this point in time, there's a lot of tension over Waco, Texas, what happened down there thing, and then the ATF came and they stormed and they had a big fight. And,
oh wow! Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that was the other major cult in the 90s, was the Waco, Texas cult, and I can't remember what they're called. off the top of my head, but we'll maybe do an episode on that. We'll see.
Yeah, one of us will look into it and see if it's worth talking about.
So, like I said, they were treading with caution, because, like, I mean, it was kind of the atmosphere was very tense at this point in time because, like I said, what happened in Waco, a lot of people died. Okay. There was a shootout, there was fires, there was all kinds.
Oh, it definitely sounds worth talking about then.
Yeah. So they are now preparing for this great end that is coming.
Okay.
And people are still signing up to be part of this. It's crazy how much attention that they have.
It's crazy to me how many people, even well-educated people, it's so crazy to me because I'm such a question. Like, I would be questioning everything. Yeah. Like, I would not be easy to
anybody who is rational,
indoctrinate into a cult. Yeah, I would not be an easy
anybody who is rational. But again, now, honestly, I could see, I could kind of see the appeal. I mean, minus the castration and stuff, but like their original, stuff like that, which was just, I mean, if you watch it and I suggest everybody watches the documentary on it because it's really, really good. You can kind of see where they get people. Yeah, I mean, you truly can. And again, like any cult, there's that manipulation, mm-hmm. There's the brainwashing, there's the everything that goes along with it. And I mean, in this Doe was, I mean, he was really good at it. He was very charismatic. He was a likable guy.
I was going to say you have to be a cult leader.
Yeah,
that's how they get you, honey.
Hold on 1 second. So they've amassed this following. And, Doe has released all these tapes saying, pretty much it's time for us to get out. Okay. It's time for us to go. And his followers was all too happy.
Are you saying that he's saying it's time for us to off ourselves?
Yeah. And
so this is very Jonestown.
Oh yeah, pretty much it is a Jonestown, but I mean it just happened in the I want to say 1997.
Oh my God.
Yeah, is when this happened. March 22nd and 23rd. These people that they decided to unalive themselves. They did it in 3 waves.
Oh my! I didn't know this was coming.
Yes, they did it.
By the way, I didn't know. I'm going into this blind like y'all. I did not know anything about this episode. Yeah, honey, I did not see it taking this turn.
They decided, and so like they were in this really upscale mansion, and I want to say it was San Diego, but I could be wrong. I'll have to check on that. And like I said, it happened on March 22nd and the 23rd of 1997, and it did happen in 3 waves. And I want to say there was 38 members altogether, Doe included.
That's all that they were down to was 38 members?
Let me double check that real quick. So there's 39 members, including Doe.
So okay, so their numbers had dropped exponentially.
Well, see, they did, but they had active members that weren't actually living with them too.
Okay.
So they had members all over the country.
Okay, so just certain members didn't know that it was time to peace out.
Yes. Well, I mean, they did, but they didn't necessarily,
follow. Yeah.
So on during March of 1997, this whole group, they would take a phenobarbital mixture and they would mix it with applesauce or pudding, and they would phenobarbital. Oh, it's a hold on, let me double check. So it's a barbiturate to prevent seizures and stuff like that.
Okay, so they were taking a lot of it.
Yes, they were taking a lot of it, and they washed it down with vodka. So like I said, they did everything in 3 waves. So the first wave of people, they would unalive themselves, and when they would
did they just fall asleep or
pretty much? Well, they also put a plastic bag over their head too, so they would pretty much pass out and suffocate. Essentially. Whoa. Essentially, that's what they would do. They would pass out and they would suffocate to death. But now as the individuals passed away, whoever was still alive, they would position them, put them in their bed, on their hands. They put a purple cloth over them. All 39 people, they were in the same thing, which was black shirts and sweatpants, and all of them had on brand new Nike Decades. It was apparently Nike was really one of their slogan, "Just do it," was very prominent within the Heaven's Gate.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is getting crazier.
Yeah. Everything meant something. They also had armbands that read Heaven's Gates Away Team. So all of them were found. Like I said, in the 3 waves, so it went over 2 days. 39 people. It was one of the largest mass unalivings probably since Jonestown. And this happened in San Diego.
Whoa.
Yeah. So the backlash. Oh, and another little thing that they had in them, every member had a $5 bill and 3 quarters in their pocket. I didn't really get this, like, the semblance of that, but every one of them had the same amount. They were all staged the same. They all had a purple cloth over their head.
Who staged the last person if all of them were dead in the house?
Well, see, the last person probably just staged themselves. They probably wasn't found, in the exact same manner. It became a media sensation.
Well, of course.
Obviously. And I mean, still to this day is I mean, we talk about little Jim Jones all the time, but a lot of people forget about Heaven's Gate. I mean, and not so very long ago.
That's crazy.
I mean, this happened when we were in elementary school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have been in kindergarten.
I mean, it became a national, sensation. Wow. Like, everybody wanted to know why. But they truly believed that this was, to them, they believed that they ascended from this life into a next life to be part of a greater plan, to be a cog in the wheel, so to say, of this great ship.
It's so sad.
A lot of the members, they had approved TV shows that they could watch. So when, like, Star Trek came along, Star Trek was one of their approved.
It's not funny, but I can't help it.
But Star Trek was one of their approved shows.
It's sad. I mean, honestly, it really is just sad. But I mean, it's just I don't know why. Like you said earlier, I don't know why that got me, but it did.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Because I mean, even to see the group kind of morph. Which, I mean, it's out there in the 70s, don't get me wrong. I mean, preaching that we're going to become, extraterrestrials.
I know, but you go from preaching that to a mass unaliving?
Yeah, pretty much.
In less than 30 years' time, or around 30 years' time?
Yeah. And like I said, but now 30, after Bonnie passed away, that's kind of when everything kind of shifted. It became a lot more biblical, but it became the doomsday prophecy.
Right.
And the 90s was very doomsday. I mean, you had the threat of Y2K on the horizon.
I will never forget that.
And so...
Honey, did your family stalk that?
A little bit.
Honey, my mom, the man my mom was married to at the time, because my daddy done passed away.
Yeah.
Honey, the man my mom married done thought the end times had come.
Yeah.
And stalked up ridiculous. I was scared to death.
My dad did stalk up a little bit, but like, he didn't go crazy with it, but we were definitely prepared for a little bit.
We were way over prepared
to get through the rough spots,
Everything just went on in storm.
Yeah, but the 90s was very much, because I mean, it was definitely, it was a year it was a decade really wrought with a lot of wars, famines, just all kinds of things. So I mean, the doomsday prophecy really got in there hot and heavy,
right?
And with the millennium coming up and all that good stuff, so these people kind of pretty much they jumped ship.
Yeah.
Before all that came, or in their minds they ascended, and I mean, and they still left a following too, even after they unalived themselves, because I mean they did have other members. There, some say that there's sanctions of this church or group or cult, whatever you want to call it, that are still going on, you know, to this day. Really great documentary about it on Max or Hulu if you have it. It's the Cult of Cults, and it's a really good. It's a really good watch. Now it's a little long, I'm not gonna lie, but it really dives into it. And I mean, it has interviews with like ex-members. Yeah, people have. And I mean, and we're talking one of the members on there, like he was a member from the get-go. You know,
I'm surprised he wasn't in the house.
He, you know, he covered up, you know, the botched castration and stuff like that. It's a really good watch. It truly is. It really is a good watch because, and honestly, from my perspective, like their early doctrine, I can kind of really see how they kind of grab people because they were offering, they were getting the people who, you know, felt like there was something more.
Right.
You know,
and I'm sure outsiders as well, impressionable young people.
And in a world that kind of seems not enough.
Well, that was right on the cusp and like right during Vietnam, and stuff like that, and everybody was looking for.
Yeah, but like I said,
wanted to believe there was something.
I mean,
more.
in their first few meetings, they took away 100 people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why.
So they had to have charisma. Like they had to be selling you something good.
But
to get that many members in that few, in that such a short time.
But it's kind of crazy though to think that, you know, they truly, and this is what they truly believed, and they believe that they ascended somehow, you know. And I guess me being the devil's advocate, I'm like, what if they did?
You're cute.
I know, but I mean, I would like to think. Hopefully, they found something out of it, though. I hope they found something rather than nothing.
Oh, of course, but I think you tell out of the two of us who might get talked into being in a cult and who might not.
Oh, I could totally probably get talked to the cult. It would have to be the right cult. And I mean, I'm not about the whole no bathing and all that good stuff. So it can be one of those weird cults. And I mean, I'm not mutilating nothing.
I feel like every cult's a weird cult.
Okay, so maybe I couldn't be talked into a cult, but I could probably definitely be talked into a commune. Which is sort of like a cult.
I was curious, like, I feel like a commune is like...
It's a cult that grows vegetables, okay? It's a cult that grows vegetables.
Jinx.
All right. And also, as far as like little documentaries go, another one, there was an episode, if you have ever seen Dark Side of the 90s.
I've heard of it, but I've never watched it.
It's a little docu-series too. They have an episode about the Heaven's Gate on there too. That's also pretty informative. So Heaven's Gate, like I said, a lot of people, they associate it with just the 90s, but no, it's been around a while. And I mean, if the reports are to be trusted, it's still going on. A wild little cult there got into some crazy stuff. I mean, but you know, I feel like that was just some Trekkies, you know.
Other than the mass
offing. And the castration. I don't really care.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Other than the mass offing themselves and the castration, I feel like this is kind of weak. Like, as far as cults go, this is a weak cult. Like, I mean, they're not, like, because I mean, there's some horrible shit that took place in some cult.
I mean, they truly are, but the fact that they could get members and hold them for a period.
Oh no, I'm shook.
40 years.
No, I'm shook.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. I will
say 20 years.
I'm just. Oh, I didn't mean anything bad about it. Other than like, I feel like as far as cults go, they're more on like like I said, other than the castration and other than the mass offing themselves, I feel like they're more like on the side of meh, like not
Sorta.
that bad.
I mean, I feel like it, and this is going to sound bad, but I feel like it was like, you know, a lot of like, you know, computer nerds and like Trekkies and, you know, and things like that. Because again, you know, but the fact that in the 70s that they were preaching UFOs and little green men and stuff like that, they definitely got a niche.
Yeah, and like I said, it's just the way I measure a cult, and this is going to sound hilarious, maybe.
She measures everything, honey, by Jonestown and the Mansons.
Yeah, literally.
Everything.
Literally, like, I mean, if we're talking cults, like, I feel like if one being the most easy breezy, meh, kind of cult ever, which I can't even think of one. So we'll talk like communes.
Yeah.
Like communes who literally aren't bad people. They're just all like hippies.
Sort of.
Hippies that all hang out and grow vegetables and are talking about free love. Okay, but aren't psychopaths.
But you weren't allowed to free love in this one.
Right. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, this.
Strict.
Okay, nobody kills themselves, nothing like that. I mean, nobody offs themselves, nothing like that. Easy breezy kind of cult. That's that's on the 1 scale.
Yeah.
10 being like the fucking Mansons.
The Mansons.
Yeah, and I don't know enough about Jonestown other than like that was really bad.
Well, I mean, essentially it was pretty much the same thing. I mean,
but it wasn't like so many more people.
I can't remember how many. It was a lot more people, but
I feel like they're up there with the Mansons, but I don't know for sure.
Well, I mean, essentially it was the same thing. It was just a religious, like.
I thought he was married to a bunch of women and everything.
Well, I'm pretty maybe he was.
Honey, so you can tell we don't know nothing about Jonestown other than that they all off themselves with the Kool-Aid.
With the Kool-Aid, honey.
So I'm going to say the worst of the worst being the Manson family.
Well, yeah, because
like right under that, or same at it, Jonestown. Yeah. But we need to know more about it.
But like I said, this was something that, in the time frame that it happened, it made all kinds of news. And I'm
going to put them at a 6.
We now have a cult rating of 6.
Yeah.
A cult rating of 6 for the Heaven's Gate. Not to be confused with the cult rating of 10, which is the Mansons.
Exactly.
And a cult rating of 9, which is Jonestown, which we don't know much about except that they drank
We might move that up to a 10 when we talk about it, but we don't know
Possibly.
Yet. Right now, we're letting it sit at a 9.
Possibly. But, well, that's pretty much the Heaven's Gates for you.
Do you believe Scientology is a cult?
I believe most organized religions are a cult.
Honey, I straight up believe Scientology is a cult.
I mean, I truly believe that most organized religions, they take on a cult form. Even if they don't mean to, I believe they do.
Really?
Well, I mean, most cults are, set up the same way.
No, I agree. But
I mean, I was going to say most cults are set up just like a church. They have a leader, the preacher, aka pastor. They have doctrine that they believe in, which either the Gospels or the church doctrine or anything like that. So,
so you mean like low level cults?
I believe that because essentially they are set up the same.
Because if we're talking about on the scale that I talk about,
well, yeah,
we're talking like 1s.
And like I said,
Scientology for me, I believe is a fucking 8.
Well, I would probably put them at a 6 with these people.
No. Have you done your research on Scientology?
No, I'm not a Scientologist.
Oh my God. Neither am I, but I've done my research. No, Josh, when I tell you these people, like the leader, dang it, what's his name? I forgot his name. No, bitch. When I tell you these people are bad people, like, they're sitting at like an 8, 9.
We'll have to get in that then.
Oh my God.
I'll have to learn.
Guys, we're going to do an episode on Scientology.
But, I would probably put your, average Baptist church or any church pretty much that you go to, I'd set them at a solid 3.
See, I'd set them at like a 1 or a 2.
I'd set them at a 3. Especially the ones, well, yeah, because, most churches demand loyalty.
I disagree.
Well,
I don't think, like, if you're going to the right kind of church, they're not demanding loyalty to them. They're demanding loyalty to Jesus. To the, and even then, I don't think they demand it. We've been to very different churches, it seems like.
I was going to say, somewhat,
did you grow up, what kind of Baptist did you grow up as?
Missionary.
Okay, see, I grew up a Southern Baptist.
Well, missionary is a Southern Baptist. It's just...
But it's different. They do have different beliefs. Like, very vague.
Anyway, all I know is I was thrown out of the church,
and I get why you feel
I do believe that most churches are borderline cults. in my, and that is my opinion. I'm not saying don't go to church. I mean, I used to love going to church. It was my favorite thing to do growing up.
In the kind of church that I grew up in, you would not have been cast out.
Oh well, that's refreshing.
And I'm not just saying that, like, you really wouldn't have. Now, would people have talked? Absolutely. Would the preacher have probably wanted to speak with you? But he wouldn't have been cruel. And he would have never cast you out. And he wouldn't have treated you differently either. My preacher, bless his heart, he still is, but he doesn't preach anymore. He got too old. Such a good man. A very rare, honest to God, lived by what he preached man.
Oh, those are very, very, very rare to come from.
They are. He's such a good man. I hate that you went through what you did because it was wrong.
It's water under the bridge now, honey. Water under the bridge.
Not for me, it's not.
We appreciate you so much. Please like, follow, subscribe, share. She's going to do her YouTube thing with the bell in a minute. So, and like I said, and if TikTok should, go down, well, find us somewhere else, honey.
Yes, honey. Like I said earlier, find us on YouTube, Spotify, Facebook. Honey, yes, that Facebook. There's our Reddit. It's new, bitch. Reddit, like I said, is r/the Midnight Guild. Midnight Guild is all one word. And Lemonade, honey. But if you are on YouTube,
here we go,
honey, you're gonna hit subscribe.
Subscribe.
Then next that, you're gonna hit that bell.
Ring a ding.
Then you're gonna click all.
All.
And honey, you won't miss a thing.
Won't miss a thing.
Not a thing, honey.
Not a thing. Thank you all. Bye.
Bye.